everyone, welcome back to Melody's 15 Years. Today we are going to talk all about community. So, hi, Melody.
Hi.
I can't even imagine being told that you are diagnosed with something that you've never heard of, much less you don't know anyone else that has it. So, let's get into a little bit of what it was like to come to terms with that and how you found a community.
Well, it was hard because even though I was going to a treatment center that treats many people in North Carolina, I never met anybody. And I would go to my appointments and look around and wonder, do they have? And I tried talking to a few people, and I never ran into anybody that had ocular melanoma. So I was kind of feeling kind of lost, and nobody understood. Um, People didn't understand that I was no longer concerned with my eye once my eye was treated. I still had vision issues. I was trying to learn how to manage with the vision issues and kind of being more one-sided. While I had vision in my eye in the beginning, it was more of a nuisance than it was a help. So people didn't understand when I would run into them or run into something, or I was extra clumsy. And, I got oh, but your eye looks so good. You're fine, right? You're good now, right? And you're like, no. And you try to explain it, but they don't want to hear the explanation. They just want to hear that you're okay. So then they kind of would step back and be like, okay, that's too much information. I don't want to hear about this crazy eye thing you got. So it was kind of isolating. And I think one of the biggest things that was hard for me was that I knew all the other cancers out there had great websites, great support groups, great, I don't know, products for patients. And I couldn't find anything. So one day I was on Facebook and I stumbled upon an ocular melanoma support group. And I was like, ooh, let's see what this is. So I joined. And all of a sudden, there's all these people just like me. And it made me feel like, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. And I'm not an outcast. because because you feel like that. When people kind of distance themselves from you, it's like, oh no, here she comes. She's going to talk about that eye thing again. They they kind of avoid you. So I was like, oh, I found my people. And it was great to have them understand. And you could say, has this happened to you? And they're like, oh yeah. And you'd be like, oh, okay, so it's not just me. This is a thing. And I think that was kind of a game changer for me when I found this other support community on Facebook.
That's got to be so weird to just feel like you're the only one and then all of a sudden find your people. And I'm so glad that you did find them.
Yeah.
What kinds of things in the very beginning were some of the things that you were kind of bonding over?
Loss of vision and the wonkiness of the vision, the loss of independence. Some people, when they're treated, they don't have any problems with their eye and they can drive right away. I had really bad double vision, so I had a hard time driving. And even though I patched my eye, it was still very scary to drive because um, my I'm left side. So when I would patch my left side and you drive, this whole side of you now is gone. And so you're trying to figure out, how do you change lanes? I drove a long time only in the right lane and hoped I didn't have to turn left. I'd go around the block before I would turn left because it was very scary. And I'm not a scared person. So it was a whole new feeling for me. So to hear other people were having that same problem, it made me feel better because my doctor kind of dismissed it. Like, no, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. No, no, you just need to get out there and drive. You'll be fine. And I'm like, but I don't think I'm going to be fine. I think I'm going to crash and die. Um, so it was just kind of all these new feelings, about having somebody to validate you that what you're going through is just like what everyone else or a lot of people are going through.
Yeah, and to validate the reason to worry that you're
Yeah.
not just being silly. There really is a concern.
Yeah. And to validate um the feelings of your of your family and friends, the distance, the way they're reacting to you. That's also something that we know there was kind of a bond over is like, what do you do when your friends stop being your friends, and what do you do when you have marital problems, and what and there's more people that have that than um, a lot of people think. A lot of people think, oh, your family's going to stick by you no matter what, and that's not necessarily the case. Yeah, so there was a lot of wow, me too. Wow, me too. Have you ever done this? What do you think about that? And it was just really good to kind of be able to go talk openly with people. And because it was a closed group, nobody from the outside could see what we were saying in that group. So that was extra helpful as well.
Yeah, for sure. So when you first found a Facebook group, how many were there? Was it just one?
There was two. There was
Okay.
one for patients, and then there was one called Friends and Family. And that's where caregivers and other people could go to get information. And there was some crossover. Some patients were in the Friends and Family, and some caregivers were in that support group. But there was two, and they were both helpful. There was nothing wrong with the groups, but then groups started growing out of that because, well, I think when I first joined the Ocular Melanoma Support Group, I think there were only like 200 people in there, which there wasn't very many. But over the years, they've grown to where there's like thousands of people in them. So it's been interesting to watch them grow and to watch new groups pop up. Now we've got a couple ocular melanoma support groups. We've got the Friends and Family. We've got a community one. We've got the Man Cave. It's just for men because men don't like to talk in the groups, and most of the groups are kind of heavily women because women share stories and share things better than guys do. So we made a ocular melanoma support man cave many years ago, and I stepped out of it because it's a man's group and I couldn't be in it. But we felt that there was a need for that, so A Cure in Sight created that, and now it's being managed by a really great guy, Jeff Howard, who also does our registry, and it's helpful because men and women don't even understand the same things. And then we have some state groups. Some of them people have made themselves. Some of them are Karen Site has made. But the state groups are kind of good because you could talk a little bit more one-on-one with people that are close to you and talk about your doctor and your center and maybe schedule a meetup to go have coffee, or hey, I'm going to the doctor. Anybody else have an appointment today? And sometimes you could meet up. And I think that's kind of the one of the big pluses is that it allows people to find people close to them so that you can have coffee, develop a bond, have a friendship, maybe meet at appointments. And that's been extremely helpful. So now there's lots of ocular melanoma Facebook groups, but in the beginning there were just two.
That's so cool. And I think that's one of the great things about like the races is because even though they're not super local, they're kind of regional. So you could
Mhm.
go to one of the races and usually there's at least a few patients at most of the
Yeah.
races. So you can meet somebody. When was the first time that you met someone in person?
The first time I met somebody in person was March of 2012. Not
Wow,
even
you
a,
remember
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah. Because I was treated in April 2011. And so it hadn't even been a year since I had my treatment. But in March of 2012, Ocular Melanoma Foundation had a patient meeting in Washington, D.C. So we drove up there and attended the conference and finally got to meet other patients in person and meet physicians. And the science was a little hard because they were talking pretty high level science, but um, but meeting the patients and actually coming face to face with the doctors. The first time I met Dr. Sada was at that meeting. It was interesting. It was a really good meeting. Um, but you to be able to have a conversation with a doctor was amazing. And they were talking about eye biopsies, and I was like, wait, I didn't get a biopsy. They told me I couldn't have a biopsy. They said no biopsy. It will make it spread. And I'm like, how can you be doing biopsies? And it was great to be educated, but then I got a little angry because I was told some old information, some information that was wrong. But then it just made me want to, get better information more.
Yeah. And then to help other people find that information, I think that's
Mhm.
probably a part of your drive in advocacy of educating other patients is to educate yourself and then share
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because it's hard when you go to a meeting and you hear something that somebody told you goes against what you were told. And then there's a room full of physicians that say, oh no, this is good. This is what we should be doing. And then you realize that, it's not so bad these days, but way back then it was center specific what they told you. And there wasn't a lot of collaboration among the doctors. And then, the patients, we were able to share our personal stories face to face, which was a lot different than Facebook. And I still am friends with some of those people that I met in 2012. And we connect every once in a while at a meeting. I connected with one at a meeting in Philadelphia. And it was like, oh my God, Cheryl, I haven't seen you in so long. But we reminisced about our first time that we met. And so, it is kind of when you look back at the long-term friendships that you make, it's some of my best friends are friends that I've seen them, but I don't see them often. I see them on Facebook and I might see them occasionally at a meeting here or there, but we've all become really good friends and we've all become like a really good family and support group.
That's amazing.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool to meet people from other places normally, but especially when you have something that's
Yeah.
so in common like that, that's so rare, and what a bonding thing. And then to get to meet people really all over the world. I mean, how far out have you met people, would you say?
Hawaii. Well, no, that's
Okay.
not true. I've met somebody from Australia. And I met a couple people from Australia. I've met somebody from Europe. But in the United States, I've met somebody from Hawaii is probably the farthest away from me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very cool. At what point did you know that you wanted to make an impact or a change and just do something that no one else was doing?
In 2012, the summer of 2012, I was frustrated. Um, I have a really, really bad personality flaw where I don't like injustice. Injustice makes me very angry. And I felt there was this huge injustice that all these other cancers had ribbons and colors and merchandise and something to hold on to. And ocular melanoma didn't. And I got extremely upset that so many people didn't know about it. And I was like, how can this be? Because in the 1980s, there was a big study called the CALM study where they actually did research into ocular melanoma and treatment options. So I'm thinking, this is 2012, and that was 1980. How the heck has nobody done anything with this? So I turned to the groups and I said, hey guys, nobody's done anything. Shouldn't we have this stuff? And they all kind of said, yeah, I think we should. So I think we might have talked about this in another episode where we made the first awareness ribbon and we developed the first awareness products in December of 2012. And we had been talking about making a nonprofit just for patients. Because, there was, at that time, there was Ocular Melanoma Foundation, and then MRF had an initiative called CureOM. But they were so research focused and they were so metastatic focused that I felt we were missing a huge population of the community of those that were not metastatic, but especially newly diagnosed that needed help. Um, One of the things that I've always said is that 50% of the people might metastasize, but 100% of the people will have an issue with their eye. 100% of people need resources for their eye. They need resources for how to live with this. They need something to hold on to and some hope. And when you look at it that way, it made more sense to me to do something more in advocacy, just because nobody else was doing it. It was all research, research, research. And while research is great, yes, we need research. I thought that there was just something missing there. So we came up with the idea of a cure in sight. And I know you say you don't remember it, but I can remember it as clear as day. Um, we were sitting in your dining room when you lived in Los Angeles, and I said, I think we need a nonprofit where something is like there's hope in the future, or something on the horizon. And you came up and you said, well, what about a cure in sight? I'm like, oh my God, that's it. So a cure in sight was born in the fall of 2012, and we were just trying to kind of get it going and try to figure out what to do. But so we signed our incorporation papers in April of 2013, but it was actually born in 2012. That's where the idea happened. And the idea also came about because of a patient that needed assistance, and I watched the people in these Facebook groups rally behind her and help her out financially. And it's like, that's what we need. So we started out with our core mission was going to help patients who are financially in need for rent, food, mortgage, health insurance. At that time, there was no Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. So there were a lot of people without insurance. And it was hard to get insurance, especially if you had a pre-existing condition. So we were helping people out as best we could with finding ways to afford their care. So we did talk a lot to patients about, when you're at the hospital, go see the financial aid department and ask them for a compassionate allowance, and try to work with them to make payment plans. So that's kind of how it all started. But because I have this personality flaw about injustice, I'm like, just can't sit here and do nothing. So that's how we got into advocacy, because I just watch patients needing something to hold on to, some kind of hope. And if it's just a little stupid ribbon, then let it be a ribbon, or a little silicone bracelet, but something to say, I have a community behind me, and I'm going to be okay.
I love that. And you're right. I do not remember that. But I believe you.
Well, at the time you had 3 little kids and you were highly stressed, which is why I was at your house trying to help you with the stress, and so.
And one was a baby, so I probably had like some mommy brain.
Yeah, he was a little baby.
Yeah. So, but I'll take the credit. That's okay.
Yeah, it's all you.
So, when you started a Cure in Sight, what did you know about nonprofits?
Nothing. Knew nothing. No, the community college in my town had a course on starting a nonprofit. So I took a couple of courses from the community college on how to start a nonprofit. And then that's another reason why it took me from this fall of 2012 to 2013, is I had to learn how to do this. I had to get my ducks in a row and know what I was doing, somewhat. So I enrolled in those courses. I got certificates of completion, and then I kind of knew the steps to take to get it all together. At that time, it took a long time for the IRS to approve a nonprofit, and they were very stringent on the applications. So it got kicked back a couple of times because I didn't do it right, because I didn't have any experience. But we finally got it through.
And I'm very impressed that you took the time and the money to sign up for college courses to learn how to do this, because so many people that feel like they're going to start a business or start a nonprofit or whatever, they kind of just, Google how to do it and then I'll just do it. And they don't actually know what they're doing or take the steps. So it's actually very impressive to me that you were like, yeah, I'll just take some college courses. This will be fine.
Well, at
That's a
the
big
time,
deal.
yeah, yeah. Um, but at the time, I had the time because I wasn't working, and I needed something to keep my mind occupied, and I needed some direction, because I can't, I'm not a jump in the middle and let's just do it person. I have to kind of know what I'm doing, because otherwise I feel out of sorts, I guess. I couldn't ever just jump in not knowing what the heck I was doing. So I did. I was grateful. And there are a lot of community colleges that have classes on all kinds of things, and they're not horribly expensive either. So you can learn all kinds of things.
Well, as someone who does just jump in and make it up as I go, I am very impressed with you.
Well, thank you.
because I usually don't know what I'm doing. I just do it. So that's, I think,
That's
very
too funny.
wonderful. How complicated was it to start the nonprofit? Because I know that there's a lot of rules and stuff. Was it like, how overwhelming was it?
The filling out the 990 was overwhelming. They've simplified it a lot right now, but back in the day, it was very, very overwhelming. And um, I'm going to say it was intimidating, a little scary. But I just kept kind of forging ahead. They'd send me a letter and say, "Oh, you need to fix this," and I'd fix it and send it back. And they'd send me a letter. Okay, now you got to fix this. It's like, why don't you just tell me everything at one time? I have to fix. Um, so it was kind of a long process. So it took us a year to get our nonprofit 501(c)(3) back then, and that was normal back then. Now you apply, you get it right away. So it's a lot easier now.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Everything's easier now.
Well, that's good though.
And you got to remember, we're going back to 2012-13. So Google, we had Google, but it wasn't as robust as it is now. And there wasn't a lot of, we didn't have any kind of AI. So it was harder to find. So it was a lot of research. How do I do this? What's the best way to do this? And um, every organization is different. So every 990 is different. Or no, I'm sorry, not 990. Every 501(c)(3) application is different.
How long did it take you to feel like you understood all the rules and you were kind of confident in running the nonprofit?
Never.
Well,
So, okay, there's always things that come up that you're not prepared for. And there's a thing called imposter syndrome, which is something that a lot of people who are in nonprofits have, where everybody thinks you're doing a great job, but you constantly are second guessing yourself. So I have that a lot. And there's things that pop up that I'm like, ooh, I didn't know that. Even today, there's still stuff that I did not know. I wish I had somebody to help me back then that would have said, this is what you don't know. But there wasn't anybody. I try to help people now with this is what you need. You need to do this, you need to do that. But I just had to kind of learn as I went. I did join some nonprofit groups on Facebook, which was great. That's kind of where I got my mentors. People would tell you, this is how you set up your accounting. This is how you do fundraising. These are all the pieces of the pie. Um, the good thing is with the IRS is from the moment that you submit your application, you can fundraise. Even though
that's
you
awesome.
don't have an official 501(c)(3, you can. So even though it took us a while to get the official 501(c)(3, we were still able to operate. We didn't have to just sit and wait. So that was really helpful. Um, but I think the first 3 years were the hardest because I was getting a lot of opposition. People didn't understand what I was trying to do. There was just a lot of weird things happening in the community. So the first few years were kind of hard. And then I teamed up with Ocular Melanoma Foundation for a while, and we kind of became what we called sister organizations for a while. And that was helpful because the two of us could kind of collaborate on things. So that was very helpful. But I'm just going to say that even as today, things will pop up that I am not sure, and I have to go ask somebody or research it just to make sure that we're doing it correctly because we don't want to not do it right.
Do you feel like part of the opposition was because you were a patient, you were discounted because you were just a patient and not a business person or a CEO or
Yes.
a professional?
Yeah, I wasn't a doctor. I wasn't a graduate. I didn't have a master's degree. I was just a person. And so I did get discounted a lot. And back then there was a big push for metastatic. And no disrespect to either of the other organizations at the time, but they were both being operated by family members of someone who had passed from ocular melanoma. There's a whole different outlook when you're a family member and when you're a patient. When you're a patient going through it, it's different. You feel different. You act different. You absorb information differently. And I think sometimes that the people that are not patients don't understand that. And I think that's why Care Insight's been so successful, is because we're in the patient community every day. So we can ask patients, what do you think? What do you want? What do you need? And then we make our programs accordingly. And I think that's been real helpful. Also, going in it from the advocacy side, I think people that are not patients don't understand how important advocacy is, because it's a big deal. Teaching patients how to advocate for themselves and giving them, advocacy information and just giving them a place to belong is a huge thing for patients.
Yeah, definitely. And currently, and the entire time, your board has always been all patients, correct?
Except for the very beginning when we started. um, there was my best friend and you were on the board when we started, and then we transitioned to patients. So, and
Yes,
then
that's
we've
true.
been
I
patients.
do
Yeah.
remember that. And that
Yes.
was just getting you started.
Yeah.
I don't know that we
Well,
were
but you guys,
helpful.
well, you were helpful because, remember we came up with we did that walk in with MRF at Universal Studios, and we all had yellow pirate shirts on, and we had the biggest team, and we had great fun. But
Yes.
you and my friend Laura, you guys helped with that, and it was great because I needed that support to go forward.
Good. And then you switched to all patients on the board. So currently and since then, what
Mhm.
does a board mean? If someone's listening and they're like, people always say the board, I don't know what that is. Can you give us like a little explanation of what is the board?
Yeah. Okay, so the board is our governing body for a care and site. So we have 5 board members currently. We just got brought on Chris as our 5th board member. And the what they do is they make sure that everything is done correctly and to the letter of the law. They also make sure that all money spent is spent accordingly. I only have about $1,500, I think it is, that I can spend without board approval. So I can order stuff, copy paper, pens, ink. I can do that kind of thing. I can make a plane reservation. I can do that. But when it comes to making a big purchase decision, the board has to approve it. So when we set our budget in the beginning of the year, the board approves the budget and says, yes, this is what we're doing. You have a rubber stamp and you can go forward within this budget. If I need to go outside that budget, then the board has to approve it. Any new programs, anything new has to be board approved. And they also develop policy and procedures so that we're operating correctly, that we're doing everything the way we're supposed to. They review our financials to make sure that our money is good, that we're doing a good job, that we're not. It's called being a good steward of the donations, that we're not wasting money in silly places, and that we're using it for the best way that we feel it could be used.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got your board, you've got your organization, you've got a couple of awareness products in the beginning. It was the ribbon and the bracelet. And then where did you go from there? What was next?
Well, we kind of stumbled along. We worked with Ocular Melanoma Foundation and helped them with their patient meetings and just gave them a patient perspective. Um, we started giving financial help to patients that we were just really small back then. We didn't have a lot of money to work with. I remember when we first started having $5,000 in the bank was a lot of money. It was like, oh, look at us, we got $5,000. And so because we didn't start with any financial backing, we didn't have anybody give us seed money, and at that time there wasn't pharma. There wasn't such a thing as pharma giving grants because there wasn't a lot of pharma even working in with ocular melanoma, and the big guys were like, no, we're not going to support you. So we just kept getting donations and trying to go forward, and developed a couple of 5Ks. We did our first one was in Dallas with a then board member that we had. She lived in Dallas and she wanted to do a 5K, so we did a couple there and we raised some money. Then we did a big one in North Carolina with Duke and Dr. Murthy and Jaya, and we raised some more money. And we just kept kind of plodding along, raising money and expanding as we went. So in the early days, we had a couple of 5Ks, and then we also had the Swing for Sight we worked on. In the beginning, we did that with Ocular Melanoma Foundation, so we branched out then and just did it all by ourselves. So that's been a huge fundraiser, and we're on our 13th year there. So we just started doing those types of things, kind of more grassroots, I guess you'd say. And then the patient population kind of caught on and kind of started to support us more. And then luckily, pharma has grown, and we have a lot of great companies that are working in ocular melanoma that support a lot of our programs. So then around I think it was 2018, we had our first patient meeting all by ourselves. Ocular Melanoma Foundation says we don't want to do these anymore, so we took them over. We had our first one in Disney, and that was amazing. You were there for that one. That was a fun one, but it was a big learning curve, big learning curve. And then from there we went to Redondo Beach, and so we were kind of feeling good. We were getting some sponsorships for our meetings, and we were feeling good. And then COVID hit. But then the good thing about COVID is we had nothing else to do. We couldn't go anywhere, so we were able to develop more programs. So we developed the podcast. We got the registry up and running. We've been working on that in the kind of in the background with Dr. D'Amato since 2015. So we were doing a lot of things kind of behind the scenes, but funding was tough, and trying to get things off the ground, it was hard. But as computers get better, it made it a lot easier. So we were able to, 2020 was kind of a big turning point for us. And then unfortunately we had a board member that passed away from COVID, and she left us a fairly good size chunk of money as a donation in her will. So around 2022, I think it is, we received that, and then we were really able to utilize that money for more programs and to get more things going. We were able to hire Danae to do the podcast instead of me. We were just able to do a lot of things because we had some money we could work with.
Absolutely. What a blessing.
Yeah, it was. And her name was Lori Walters, and she wanted us to do something with technology. She said, I'm a big technology fan. So if I ever pass and you get this money, this is what I want you to use it on. So we looked at technology. We were able to do some things to help us get our website redone. We were able to get the podcast up better. There was a lot of things we were able to do and follow her wishes and I think she'd be really proud.
Definitely. Okay, so let's go forward even more. Okay. What kind of struggles at this point were you having?
We had so many struggles.
What was your biggest?
The biggest was people not understanding and the gossip in the community. That was huge. We're still trying to overcome the gossip in the community. Because I don't understand why people don't think for themselves, and why if somebody tells them something they believe the negative, instead of going to somebody and saying, hey, I heard this. Is it true? Can you tell me more about this? And so we kind of had some divisions in the community. A lot of it was spurred on by another organization and their followers. And there's still ramifications today because of that. Way back in 2013, 14, 15 was when it was really bad. And I think it's this, I understand when you find a group that you are passionate about, but I don't understand that throwing another group under the bus. We should all be working together. We've always said, support us, support them, support anybody. We have people in our community that support American Red Cross. They don't do anything necessarily for ocular melanoma. But if that's where their passion is, do it. If you want to do the American Cancer Society, then do it. But support everybody, because there's a lot of good happening. There's a lot of good research happening. There's a lot of good education happening. There's a lot of good advocacy happening. And that has just been a struggle of misunderstanding the rumors, the gossip, and not being able to address it, not being able to say, no, I didn't do that, or not being able to go to that person. And, we still have it today. We still have a couple of people that are still out there throwing us under the bus any chance they get. And I don't know why. I would just ask everybody to, if you hear something Don't believe everything on face value. Find out for yourself. Do some research. Think for yourself, because it's caused a lot of problems in the community. And unfortunately, we've kind of been the target. But I keep hearing this, and it's hard. People say when you're doing good things, you become a target. And I know that we're doing good things, so we are a target. But I just wish that they would target somebody else for a while, because it's exhausting. Honestly, it's so hard. It's so hard to just put your head down and just keep working and listen to the gossip in the background, and you get the hateful messages. And I mean, I get hateful direct messages in Facebook, hateful emails, hateful. You're an awful person. You shouldn't be doing this. How dare you? And it's like, well, what am I doing that's so terrible? So that's been the hardest part, honestly. And I don't like to talk about it a lot, but the attacks and the unfounded attacks, one of the things we were accused of was misappropriating funds. And I can tell you right now that there has been nobody that has ever come into my office and said, let me review your books. But as a 501c3, we have to allow everybody to come in and look at our books. We publish a 990 every year. We're getting audited now that we're bringing in more money. We have to have an audit. We're in the process of an audit right now. People that say these things, they don't have any basis for it. And it's hurtful, and it hurts the community, and it needs to stop, in my opinion. But that has been the hardest road we've had to go, is to overcome the misinformation that's out there and the hurtful gossip.
And just so everybody knows, touch on that audit for a minute. You're not getting audited because there was something suspect. That's just a normal procedure.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, you have to be audited when you hit a certain thresholds of income to get licensed with some states. So we're bringing in around $600,000 a year, so that put us to that level where we have to have a financial statement audit. So we have to provide our board minutes. We have to provide our printouts, our balance sheet, our financial statement, and we have to provide them with all of those. And they look at last year compared to this year, and if there's any weird variance, we have to explain why. And then if they're satisfied, then they say, okay, you're good, and we get a stamp. If they're not satisfied, then we can get a bad mark, and we have to go back and fix it. But audits are normal things in nonprofits when you hit certain levels in order to get funding in different states.
Right, and I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that. I didn't want anyone to hear what you said and then go, "Oh my God, they're getting audited. They're doing terrible things," and go,
"Oh yeah."
Misinformation is a big thing we want to avoid in this. So,
yes.
Let's talk about Charity Navigator, because, like you said, all of the information is public. Anybody can access exactly what money is brought in and what it's spent on. Mm-hmm. So there is no misconception. So tell us about Charity Navigator.
So Charity Navigator rates nonprofits by their 990 and their work that they're doing. And so we have to fill out a lot of forms and go through a lot of stuff on the computer with Charity Navigator and give them the information. They pull our 990 directly from the IRS. So there's we can't cook the books, basically. We can't give them something that's not true, because they get it right from what we file with the IRS. So they look at all of this stuff, and then they give us a rating based on what we've given them. And unfortunately, I didn't catch it, and our accountant the last 2 years left our website off of our 990, and we got a ding, so we didn't get 100%. But we're still 4 stars. So we're still top platinum level. And so they've reviewed us, and they say, yes, you're good. Your programs are solid. Your money is solid. Your 990s are solid. And so they've given us the 4-star platinum rating.
And is 4 the highest?
4 is the highest. Platinum is as high as you can go.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. So everybody listening, everything is above board. Everything is accounted for. Y'all can chill.
Well, and
if you're listening to this, we love you.
So here's the thing, is that because I'm the face, because I'm the one that's the most active, because I wear 2 hats. I am the president, but I am also the acting director. So because I wear these 2 hats, people think, oh, well, I'm just doing all this. But I'm not. I mean, the board has to keep me in check. And just so people know, just because I am the president of the board, I'm also the acting director. So when I go to the board with something, I don't vote. Okay. I just don't vote because I feel like, okay, I have to take the president hat off and I have to put on the executive director hat. So I'm biased and I don't want to influence their vote. So I give them the information, they vote on it, and I stay out of it. Um, because I feel that's the right thing to do, and the board is fine with that. But they have to put their stamp of approval. So when you see everything with a cure in sight, it's not, oh, Melody, Melody, Melody. Melody makes very small decisions here. It
She
looks
buys
like
the pins.
but we got a really good pen.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing that people don't understand. They think Melody's just out here making these decisions and spending this money, but I'm not. I have to go ask them. I mean, I had to call a board member today and say, hey, we just signed up for this wholesale account and, the board approved that we could buy some jewelry to have on our store. So is it okay if I buy these 2 items? They were within my limit. I didn't have to, but I wanted to clear it with somebody that these 2 items were good items to buy. Because I try to not make big decisions without somebody on the board knowing what I'm doing. We are a close-knit group of people. We talk a lot, sometimes every day. They know exactly what I'm doing at all times, really. And so I think that there's a big misconception that Melody's just run amok, because Melody doesn't run amok. I'll tell you now we've got Chris. He hasn't had a chance to keep me in line yet, but Lauren and Suzanne and Marlene don't have a problem telling me no. They do. Absolutely. Quite often. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'll come up with this really great idea. I got this great idea. And they're like, no. Dang. Try again.
So you do 2 jobs, you said.
Mm-hmm.
You work, how many hours a week you work?
Oh gosh, I don't even know.
Countless.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot of hours and a lot of travel. And when we travel, just so everyone knows, there's no on the clock, off the clock. We get up, we leave the hotel, we work all day, we come home, we go to bed. It's all day. And we don't count our hours. So with that said, you work a ton. You run this organization. You do a lot for patients. What is your salary?
$0.
$0. You make $0. And why? Did you make that decision?
I made that decision, yes.
You chose that. Why?
I did. Well, we had talked before about my divorce, that I was in a good spot with my divorce. I'm in a good spot. I've got a steady income stream through Airbnb my house. I'm living comfortably, but I'm not living excessively. I have enough money to pay my bills. And I would rather hire people to do jobs to grow a cure in sight than to get a salary. I think it's much better for me to pay, we've got our accounting person, we've got Lucy, our admin, we've got Danae, who does podcasts and webinars, we've got you, who does podcasts and newsletters and all the hats you wear. It's better to pay you all than for me to take a salary, because I don't have to have the money, and I'm not trying to be wealthy. I'm not trying to live, extravagantly. I just am living frugally. So to me, it makes sense for me to not draw a salary. I never have drawn a salary. This has always been a labor of love, and I've always done what I needed to do to grow the organization for the community, not for my own personal growth or my own personal gain.
So you're 100% a volunteer.
100% a volunteer. The only thing that a Cure Insights pays me is they cover my expenses.
And just so everyone knows, board members are also volunteers.
Correct. A nonprofit board member cannot get paid. Yep.
Okay.
And they all volunteer their time. And just like me, they get their expenses covered.
Perfect. And also, you say that you don't want to collect a salary because you'd rather pay us to help grow the organization. But also, I think a big important piece that you didn't say is to keep funding all the programs that benefit the patients, because you could take a salary and have less programs.
If I took a salary, it would be, or if we paid somebody to do what I do, we would be able to give financial assistance. We wouldn't be able to produce the education programs that we have, because we have to make choices. It would be me or you and Danae, or somebody to replace me or you and Danae. And You and Danae are too important to give up just to pay a person to do what I can do.
Well, that's very heroic. And I know that you would not admit that, but I'm going to tell you that it is. So,
Well, thank
everyone
you.
who's sending her the hate mail, just not that any of those people would listen to this anyway, but I'm just going to say if you're listening to this and somebody tells you something, you can repeat everything we just said, that she's 100%
well,
a volunteer for you.
so those are my biggest challenges. The rest of it's easy. Honestly, the rest of it's easy. You know, our pharma partners are awesome. I have great relationships with them. I've made great friendships with them. Our doctors are awesome. Our patients, for the most part, are awesome. For most of the day-to-day stuff is easy. But that is the hardest thing because it hurts my soul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you're doing everything you can do, you're not even collecting a paycheck. Every program is for the benefit of the community, and then to have people attack. And I've personally witnessed it, so I can say that it is, when it happens, it is unfounded, and it's so shocking that you're like, why would they think that, number one, and why would they say it, number two, and why would anybody believe them, number three? And it is,
Yeah.
it's hurtful, but it's also, I think, a lot the shock of why. And whenever you are in the public eye, whether it's small scale like this or, I mean, anything, people are going to go after you, whether you're doing good or you're just in a leadership position. So those are definitely things that I've experienced too. So, it's sad,
Danae,
but it happens.
Yeah, Danae gets hate mail.
Yeah.
People
And
leave her
she's just out
messages.
there trying to tell her story and do the best for the community. It's just, but when people are going through a hard time, which obviously cancer is a very hard time, a lot of times when you're in a hard place, it's easy to turn to the negative. It's easy to lash out and say, this is your fault, you're not doing it right. And it's easy to get sucked into the ugly. So, I think we can have some compassion towards those people and understand that it's not about us. It's they're in a hard place, but we also need to block it and move on and don't keep engaging with it.
Somebody didn't like me because somebody in 2012 said to them that we were collecting donations without being a nonprofit. Okay. I had to explain to that person in 2025, okay, 2012, 2025, that when you are going through the application process, you are allowed to receive donations. And then when you're approved, everything's fine. If you're not approved, you have to either give the money back or you have to make arrangements with your donors. So I had to explain that to her. Now, from 2012 to 2025, she hated me because somebody told her something that was untrue, and she never one time came and said, hey, Melody, explain how you're collecting donations here. I'd tell her. And if she said, can I see your books? I would have to show her.
Yeah.
Our 990 is a public document at any time. Anybody can go look at our 990. We have an accountant who does our 990. He is a CPA. He will not lose his license to do anything shady. He does not.
No, and if she wanted money, she could just collect a salary. So let's also remember that. She could collect a salary if she wanted to. She chooses not to. So if she's going to cook a book, she would just pay herself instead and not go to prison. Let's be real, guys. Let's be real.
Embezzlement does not look good on me. No, I don't want to go to jail for embezzlement. No.
Right. When you could absolutely pay yourself. And I'm not saying you should, but I'm saying you could cut a program and pay yourself. Why would you not do that and risk prison? It makes no sense. So you guys, when you hear rumors, just think about it with like a grain of salt, and maybe tell the person, hey, that doesn't sound right, instead of, ooh, gossip, let me jump in. And again, nobody watching this is going to do that. We know that, but
one day I'll learn.
But I mean, the whole point of A Cure in Sight is to go out and help all of these people. So, I mean, I don't think you'll learn. I think you're going to keep helping everybody you talk to, because that's the whole point. And it just really hurts when those people turn on you and accuse you of the worst when it's not true, when all you did was try to help them. And I think that's why it hurts so bad, versus if it was just a random neighbor or just, somebody you didn't know very well. It's somebody that you're pouring your heart and soul into, trying to help. And while it's unfortunate that you do run into a few of those people, the community on the whole, would you say has been supportive of you guys?
Yes, I think the community as a whole has been very supportive. We appreciate them. We appreciate their dedication to us. We appreciate their support. We appreciate them sharing our content. We appreciate them giving our content to other patients so that they can find us easier. That's always huge. So the majority of the population is great. And like we were just saying, don't focus on the negative. We try really hard not to focus on those negative people. But because you asked me what was the most difficult part, I mean, that's the most difficult part. For the most part, most of the community is wonderful, and I have made wonderful friends in the community. I mean, dear friends, that people that I'm very close to, and we've become more than friends even. And so the community is very supportive and very helpful. And most of the people don't understand why this little negative group does what they do. But it just keeps moving. One leaves, another one comes. It's just life and the way it's going to be. But we appreciate everybody that hangs in there with us and enjoys our content and likes what we do and, supports us. We're grateful to be here to be able to do it. We're blessed that we're still here to be able to do this because we've lost a lot of friends. So,
And that's why you keep doing it, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah, we've lost 3 board members over the years. 3 of our board members have passed on. So we understand both sides. We feel the loss just like the community does because we lose our dear friends too.
Well, everyone, thank you for joining us today as we talked about the beginning, the creation of a Cure Insight, the biggest struggle dealing with it in the beginning and currently. And the biggest blessing is you guys just tuning in, sharing our content, and following along with us. The whole point of this is to get information out to the community and advocate, and we can't do that without you, so we really do appreciate it. And that's a perfect segue to wrap this up, because how do I always end episodes? By thanking our audience for watching, because we can't do any of this without you. We can't have a podcast without viewers. We can't post on social media without people to watch it. You are the point. You're why we're here. You're why we're doing this. So thank you for watching. Please leave us a like and a comment. Let us know, what do you think about this? Did you learn something about the process of creating a nonprofit that you were surprised by? Are you surprised her biggest struggle is negative criticism? Did you think it was all sunshine and roses? Let us know. Leave us a comment. And just check out A Cure Insight's website. We have so many resources that are there for you. So please check them out. Come see us at a 5K, go to Swing for Sight in Napa in the spring, go to the patient meeting this year. It's going to be in Dallas in October. We have so many resources that you can go meet other patients. There's a Zoom group every Tuesday it's Tuesday evenings, you can meet other OMIs and talk. And just so many resources, podcast episodes. It's all there for you. So please take advantage of it. And, if you can make a donation, that would be lovely. We are doing a campaign right now, 26 and 26. We're encouraging everyone to donate $26 a month in the year 2026. We started it in light of Rare Disease Day, and we're going to carry it through the year 26 and 26. So if you can commit $26 a month, we would greatly appreciate it. It funds all of these programs. It does not pay Melody, as we said, but it does fund the programs. And if you can't do that, start a Facebook fundraiser. Do anything you want.
I do want to say one thing that we missed. It doesn't pay you either because you're paid by sponsorships.
True. I get paid over the phone.
Yes, the donations do not pay your salary or Danae's salary. You guys get paid through sponsorships. So
we do. And that's another segue, because the next thing I do is thank the sponsors. And this particular episode does not have a sponsor, but our regular podcast is sponsored. So we can't do anything again without the sponsorships and the pharma companies, and they sponsor the podcast, the patient meetings. So many of our things are sponsored by them, and they do it for you. They pay us to do these educational, wonderful things so that you can benefit from it. They're in it for you. They are your advocate. They are supporting you. So if you haven't met them and you don't know what we're talking about when we talk about how great these people are, come to our events. They're at most of them. You'll meet them and you will love them like we do. So thank the viewers, thank the sponsors. Those are the 2 biggest things I do when I wrap up. And that's why, because you guys make this possible. And then check out the resources on the website. They're there for you. And we're going to leave it there for this episode, and we will see you guys on our next episode.